Hi everybody, my name is Stephen Clark and I'm going to make a quick video all about scale practice. I've been having quite a lot of conversations with people about scale practice recently, not just flute players but people working on all instruments and playing at all levels, so some young players still at school, some college level players, some professional players and also some adult amateurs. And so I thought it might be kind of interesting. Also about a month ago now, I came across a video online posted by Sir James Galway with his scale challenge. Some of you will have read this. I'll try and put the link to his scale challenge in the description of this video as well, if I can figure out how to do all that. But his scale challenge really fascinated me, and it's basically using Marcel Moyse's Daily Exercises, which is a book lots of you will have if you're practicing flute players, and he had suggested that basically we practice these exercises 4 times a day in 15-minute chunks at a time, and I thought it made perfect sense. So I started off doing that about a month ago, and I really immediately noticed an enormous difference. And I was watching a lot of his videos about it, and I thought they were fascinating and very insightful and helpful. So I spoke to some of my students about it, and some of my colleagues and friends about it, and also had a few chats on Twitter about it, and then I decided I wanted to come up with my own scale challenge. First of all for myself to practice, and then for some of my students to practice. And actually, the reason I'm posting this video is because this weekend I'm in Ireland working with the Lisburn Flute Orchestra. I have a concert on the Friday night and then a flute class with them on the Saturday. The Lisburn Flute Orchestra, if you're not aware, is an ensemble, a relatively new ensemble in Northern Ireland. I'm sure many of them will be watching this. Directed by a gentleman called Glenn Houston, who's a fantastic flute teacher and musician in Northern Ireland. And what's interesting about the Lisburn Flute Orchestra is that they're the first cross-community flute orchestra in Northern Ireland. So they're the first one which has a mixture of players from different backgrounds and different religions, and all ages across the board. And I think it's a really fascinating ensemble, and an ensemble that I'm really proud to be the honorary president of for this year, but also have worked with a couple of times over the past few years and thoroughly enjoyed meeting them and working with them. And so going over this weekend, I was having a think about what I wanted to cover in this workshop, and one of the things I want to talk about is practice, and scale practice in particular. So I have decided to set my own scale challenge, which is quite simple, I think. I wanted to come up with something that was very straightforward, that you could practice wherever you are, and that's most importantly quick. A lot of adult amateur flute players especially tell me that the problem with scale practice, and perhaps Sir James's scale method, is that it takes quite a lot of time to do. 15 minutes 4 times a day is quite a lot of practice if you only maybe have an hour spare to practice. So I wanted to come up with something that was really fast, but is basically based on his principles. So there's no ideas here that are particularly original, but I think if you really dedicate to doing them, it'll work. This system will only take about maybe 12-15 minutes a day maximum, and it's based on 2 rhythms, both dotted rhythms, but one is the opposite of the other, which I'll explain. The first thing I want to say is that for me, I won't practice my melodic minors, because I practice my harmonic minors, and they're very similar, and for me the pattern is more important in the harmonic minor. It's just a personal thought. You may disagree, and that's absolutely fine. I'm not saying that this is right or wrong, it's just how I practice. So I practice all my majors, all my harmonic minors and chromatic scales, and I do it from C all the way through every single key, every single day. That sounds like a lot, but it is really not that many scales at all. And especially if you're only starting on the tonic or the root of each scale. But I do them all in 5 rhythms every single day. I'm going to tell you 2 of them today, which I think are the 2 most important, and which I'm absolutely certain if you practice these 2 rhythms, you will absolutely find that your playing improves. So, first of all, I just want to say that I suggest you practice full compass scales. So starting on the root of the scale, so if it's in C, you start on the C, if it's in D, you start on the D, and so on. All the way up to the top note in the key of the scale, so a top C or a top B, all the way back down to the bottom note, the lowest note you know, and then finishing back on the tonic or the root. Oh, excuse my phone ringing in the corner, we'll just ignore that. If you don't know, if you're maybe not at your grade 5 yet, which is absolutely fine, this system is perfect for you to work with as well. You don't have to go all the way up to top C or top B, just go up to as high a note as you can. Even 2 octaves is fine, it's absolutely fine. It will make a difference to your playing, but I suggest you start learning the top register as well, because that's a bit tricky up there, and the quicker you get used to it, the less problems you'll have later on. So, here's rhythm number 1. If I play it on G major, I'll just do it in 2 octaves. Rhythm number 1. It's basically dotted quaver, semi-quaver, dotted quaver, semi-quaver, dotted quaver, semi-quaver. At the moment, I spend my whole life working with American musicians, so you guys would call it dotted 8th note, 16th note, dotted 8th note, 16th note, and so on. But it would go like this. Sometimes when you do a scale, you just have to finish it off with a little noodle at the end to kind of make it tidy up. The other rhythm, the second rhythm I suggest, is exactly the same but reversed round. So it's semi-quaver, dotted quaver, semi-quaver, dotted quaver. Or if you're from America, it would be 16th note, dotted 8th note, 16th note, dotted 8th note. Now being from Scotland, I suggest you play it as Scottish as you can, as snappy and as kind of Celtic as you can. Keep those notes as close together, which will really improve your technique the quickest one, I think. Okay, so there's your 2 basic rhythms. Now, if you run through every single scale in both those rhythms, it won't take you very long, and you will notice an enormous difference. I'll give it a go. I don't know how long this will take. I want to try and keep this video under, I did say under 10 minutes, but we're already at 7.5, so we're not going to do that. Let's say under 15. I'll try and run through every scale I can. I slur them all most of the time. Occasionally I'll add in some articulation, but most of the time I slur them. I don't do them too fast or too slow. For me, it's much more important that I'm thinking about where my fingers are on the keys, and I'm really making sure everything is kind of being practiced well, rather than just getting through the notes for the sake of it. So, sometimes I start in B and work down, sometimes I start in C and work up. We'll start in C today. or as high a note you can go. Okay, so that's the first rhythm done, and that took 5 minutes, maybe about 5 minutes. So we've got one more rhythm to go. I won't do the whole thing because we'll be here forever, but the kind of Scottish rhythm, as I call it, or the reverse dot, would be something like. Just the reverse. And as I say, I try and keep that that snap as kind of as short as I can. Also, of course, if that's pretty straightforward for you, which I'm sure for many of you it will be, you can change all kinds of things. You can start on different degrees of the scale. So, for example, you could play D major, but starting on the second degree, which would be an E. Sounds a bit weird, but if you run up and down them all, you're really making thousands and thousands of extra scales. You can also do it in thirds, in fourths, in fifths, in sixths, still using those rhythms. And you can also experiment with dynamics. Quite a lot of the time, I decide I'm going to practice my scales piano because that's something I find harder than playing loud. So I kind of try and challenge myself with that, especially going up the top. In general though, I've just seen such an enormous difference in my own technique, not just in my fingerwork, but also my fluidity up in the top register, the quality of sound up there, my flexibility, and actually I really enjoy the structure of it in terms of my practice. I can only speak from my own experience, but practicing my technique gives me a bit of peace of mind, knowing that if there's tricky stuff coming up, rather than worrying about it, I can just get on with trying to be as expressive a musician as I can be, and I guess that's the most important thing. So there's your challenge, 1 month. Practicing the scales in those way, every single day though. That's about 30 scale practice sessions, and I want lots of people to comment and let's hear everyone's experience of doing it. So for those of you coming along to the concert or the class at the weekend, I shall see you there, and for the rest of you, happy practicing.